Morning, Marva, Andrea, Raymond, Gemma, morning, Angela, Angie, Sherry, morning, Glenn, Eva, morning, morning, Carol, morning to you, Gilland, morning, guys. Allison, boys, to all of my Allisons, Andrea, Ines, morning. I haven't seen Angie pop up yet, but morning, Angie. Morning, Donna. Press it. Good morning, Gerald, Pascal, Felix Hospitalis, Alison Samuel. Morning, Alan, Alison, Salah, Annette, Marjorie. Morning, Jen. Jenny said she missed me on Tuesday. Yeah, I was on Tuesday. Good morning to His Excellency Nigel O'Connor, the President of Pleasantville, and to the First Lady Marcia. Morning. Morning, Dish. Ruth Fronton, morning. Who do we have here on YouTube? Ria Edward, morning. Cyril Mejias, morning. Ruth Trude, good morning. G Dimple. Sedena Koshi. Yes, good morning, Sedena. Sedena is saying, did you hear the interview? Yes, I did. And I found that to be most disturbing. Sedena, that Devant Maraj would have indicated that he was in the country because he had to sign the statement that he gave with respect to the human trafficking issue, and UNC personnel who he identified as being involved in human trafficking. Whom he identified as being involved in human trafficking. And I saw an article in the newspapers a couple of days ago where the police have indicated that the investigation is progressing well. And Mr. Maraj, I don't know how many of you would have listened to that interview yesterday on I-95.5 with Darian Marcel and Devant Maraj, and I think the issue was raised by Marvin Gonzalez in the parliament last week, right? So he would have called out the UNC in the parliament on the issue of Devant Maraj being in Trinidad to sign this witness statement. And the police would have invited him to meet to have it signed in the presence of our GP, and the GP turned out to be Barbara Burke. And I don't understand how situations like these that leaves one to draw the inescapable conclusion. You see, sometimes when they say Trinidad is not a real place, there is instances like these that cause you to think, it might have there may be something to that. Because how can you bring a GP to witness a sworn statement, which statement identifies UNC officials, members or member of parliament who is alleged to be involved in human trafficking, prostitution, and other things? Mr. Maraj is swearing to a statement in which he speaks about certain events where this individual would have had no shame in engaging in, solicitation for prostitution or whatever it is, where Mr. Maraj would have, and not just him, Vassan Bharat as well, would have given an account of an event they had, an official event, where this individual would have brought 3 women with him and would have been walking the room, approaching people, offering the services of these women. And Mr. Bharat would have indicated he was one of the persons approached and that he would have declined. Yeah, he politely declined the offer. But nevertheless, the individual instructed one of the women to give Mr. Bharat a call card, just in case he changes his mind. Maybe after he has a drink or two, he might have a change of heart, you know. Um, and here it is that Devan Maharaj gives this sworn statement that is integral to the investigation. And you bring Barbara Burke as the JP. So many JPs that have in Trinidad and Tobago, the only one the police got to find was Barbara Burke. And then even when Mr. Maharaj would have registered his objection, given the fact that Barbara Burke has within recent times resurfaced at the UNC platform, speaking on behalf of the UNC. The police say, well, it is what it is, and that's what we could find. So if you have a problem with her, well, you gotta come back next time. We could try to find our next JP, but it won't be today. And so you'll have to come back next time. Of course, the man is in Trinidad for a short period of time. Now that he lives in Canada, and he was just here to do some business and so on. So in the interest of convenience, he decided, well, he'll go ahead. And while it is that he is going through this statement, according to him, to make sure that what is recorded there is what he said, Barbara Burke decides to strike up a conversation to talk about, the UNC is the best thing for this country and the PNM no good and all that. Really? You couldn't even exercise some small modicum of professionalism, understanding the purpose for which you were there? Yes, you and Devan Maharaj would have been colleagues, parliamentary colleagues at one point in time in the Senate, but place and time. And again, I make the point, Trinidad cannot be a real place. Are we living in the twilight zone? That Devan Maharaj is sitting there, going through the prepared witness statement to sign it. He's going through to confirm that the contents of this statement is exactly what he said, where he's implicating at least one person who currently sits in the parliament as being involved in human trafficking. This is a serious case. And in the room, you have Barbara Burke, Devan Maharaj, again, this is what he said, and his attorney. And Barbara Burke is trying to convince him that what he is doing is not right. That by implicating certain UNC people, you could be damaging the party, and the UNC is the best thing for this country to take this country forward. And that is tantamount to witness tampering. Where we live in. If you're trying to convince the man here, what now, don't do this now. I'm not telling you outright don't do it, but I'm trying to convince you using subliminal messages to tell you, remember the days when you were in the glory days of the UNC? Remember when things was good in the UNC? And look at how the PNM have the country in a mess. Why are you doing this? Hey boy, I'm trying to tell you to pull back the statement, That's the same thing that Anand Ramlogan did with David West and trying to convince David West to withdraw his witness statement. And you bring Barbara Burke, who is a known UNC activist, a strong supporter of Kamla Prasad Bisesa as the JP, to witness the man's signature. And in that process, while he is going through his witness statement, you are trying to intimidate him. You're trying to encourage him to do something untoward. The man needs to focus and read his statement to make sure what is in there, but you yapping. The UNC is the best thing, and the PNM are no good, and look at the state role, you have the country here. What were you trying to do? Barbara Burke should have left that room in handcuffs. Handcuffs for attempted witness tampering and attempting to pervert the course of justice. This is an ongoing police investigation into human trafficking and prostitution. And the police allow that. Right? And Marvin Gonzalez would have raised the issue in the parliament, so the UNC is fully aware. The parliamentary caucus is fully aware. Now, if it had been the other way around, and it was a PNM thing, all now Kamla would have already put out a press statement condemning that. They would have had a press conference condemning that, right? You would have had commentary from Martin George, Martin Daly, the usual suspects now. All of them that the media quick to run to for comment when they need to malign and bad talk the government. Them. They would have had plenty to say. No media house can cover that. That should have been a front page issue to highlight that the UNC has no scruples. But it's convenient to them to talk about probity and propriety when it's in relation to anything that affects them. But when it is they are the perpetrators of the act, they have nothing to say. Kamla won't talk about that. the Doug liar, that clown, that bald-headed afterbirth, he wouldn't talk about that. Yeah, he wouldn't do a doubles and coffee to talk about that. But had it been the other way around, if it was a PNM JP that was trying to convince somebody to do that, we wouldn't have heard the end of it. They would have been beaten that like a steel pan. So when it is that Dr. Rowley makes the statement that the media in this country has serious questions to answer, and they take offense to it, no, check all yourself. You all really have serious questions to answer. As I always say, we do not have journalists in this country. What we have are bacchanalists, tutors, posing as journalists. We don't have journalists. Back in the days when you had people like, Raul Pantin and Dominic Kalipasad and all of these guys, that cohort of persons there, Jones P. Madeira and stuff, they were the stuff of legends. Not these neophytes that we have here now, who only look into pattern powder and want to see themselves on TV, right? And figure themselves to be celebrities, or fighting over themselves like crabs in a barrel to get the headline for the front page. But otherwise, nothing of substance. But again, I wait to see if it is anybody in tonight's meeting, PNM's meeting at Malabar, if anybody will address that, if the matter will be spoken. And you see, again, I always say, in these matters, this is where the UNC beats the PNM. Marvin Gonzalez raised it. I ain't heard from nobody else, and since he raised it in the parliament, no further talk about that until yesterday with Darian Marcel. Yeah? But we will allow that to slide. UNC wasn't letting that slide though. But anyway, to each his own. Stop this here. Yeah, so good morning all. Let me see what we're looking like here. Yeah. Okay, yes, yeah. Right. Hypocrites all. Yes, that is exactly what they are. A bunch of hypocrites. So let me put this thing right. I just want to play something. I crave your indulgence this morning to play clips from two people who we don't really like to hear. It's difficult to listen to, right? One of them, of course, is the misleader of the opposition, and the other one is the Doug liar. That disgusting piece of filth. I mean, anything else to describe him would not be appropriate for this forum, right? So I would just leave it at that disgusting piece of filth. So let me go with Kamala first, right? I just wanted to replay something from Monday night. Let me touch on it here.
This Piarco thing, but they're killing Piarco. They're saying to us, look, we whatever.
They're saying to us, we whatever, right? She can't even bring herself to utter the words. They're saying that we are corrupt. They're saying to us that we are whatever. What does whatever mean, Mrs. Prasad-Visesa? Say the word. Say the word. They are saying that we are corrupt. Yes, the UNC is corrupt. We're saying that. But you can't bring yourself to say the word. Utter it. Yeah? You're too embarrassed to say it? All right. We continue.
Well, there was a massive report of massive corruption in the Sunday newspapers this weekend.
And she laughs at that. Well, there was a massive report of massive corruption. What is so funny about that, Mrs. Prasad-Visesa? You find that humorous? Why? Again, the embarrassment. That wasn't a laugh of, I found it funny, That's a laugh. I'm so uncomfortable just to utter that, right? I'm uncomfortable to admit, to even speak of. You hear what she started off by saying, I didn't intend to speak about that Piarco matter. Why didn't intend to speak about it? Because you cannot defend your position that it is no longer can you defend the position that it was a 25-year PNM smear campaign designed to make the UNC look corrupt. She can't. So that was a nervous giggle there. That wasn't, I find it funny. All right, we continue.
And that report has totally vindicated Deputy Leader Shirley John. Totally. When they spoke, they talked about the painting, which I already discussed with you. And they said, Rory saying we collect money. It was a big secret. That is stale news. It was no secret. It was published at the time. And they're saying we tried to throw away the case. Hey, we didn't throw away case like Malcolm Jones' case where he won $2 billion, We did not, Ken Julian, Etek Bamboo, all those cases. Ashton Ford has collected money, all those cases. So give me a minute and I will speak, please. We all seem to know them, so that's good. Must never ever forget them and bolt them to the chest of Keith Christopher Rowley. But don't forget them. We pursued that Piarco case under my watch when we went into government. We recovered $18 million. That sounded like a case that we throw away. And we never hid it because it was published in the newspapers all the time. So again, the lies, repeat the lie. He got this whole campaign. Those are the lies.
Again, if we had a proper media house in this country, right? If we had journalists, real journalists, you know what they would have do? They would have called her out on that lie long time. Because they reported other things that she said on Monday night, but they didn't. If it is that she's saying that was reported, that is stale news, that it wasn't, they didn't try to cover up anything because that was reported in the media, the news media. Every media house, knowing full well that is a damn lie, would have called Mrs. Prasad Bisesa out, whether it be through the editorial or somebody do a story to ask her when was that published. Because if they could check their archives and see, well, okay, the Express didn't have nothing. What year did that happen? In what year did you receive the money? Because we don't have any history of publishing anything here. Newsday, same thing. We have no history. We not seen anything in our archives that said we covered any such thing here. The Trinidad Guardian, we aren't seeing anything here. So could you please provide us with a copy of where any of our media houses would have published this, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa? Please tell us, right? That was big news. Who published it? How did you all disseminate that information to the media? Did Anand Logan do a press conference to say, hey, look, we get back money, and look, we got all of these things here? Did he do that? Did you do a press statement to the media to tell them that? Did you, Mrs. Prasad Bisesa? The media supposed to call her out on that lie. They know she lying. They know they published no such story. Right? Where is it? But again, they vex when Dr. Rowley say the media in this country have serious questions to answer. And they allow her to lie and say that was published. But the man who she probably intends to be an attorney general, should she get back into office, Saddam Hussein, the other day decided to take Reginald Amo, the attorney general, to the privilege committee because Saddam Hussein, had posted some question to the attorney general requesting some details with respect to legal fees and how much money was paid in legal fees and so on. And the attorney general would have indicated that he would have provided the information to the parliament because, as he said, the information was given to him from his office and he had it in his possession and he was of the opinion that it had been shared to the parliament. And they go, oh, he's a liar and he's a this. I am asking any of the UNC people who listen to this program and who will subsequently listen. You all could ask your leader to tell us exactly when. And as I made the point before, a couple of days ago, in the same way, they know how to dig up and get copies of newspaper clippings from since the Rock of Ages was a pebble. If to prove your point, you should have come to the meeting with it and post it up and show us, well, look at here. Look at it. The same way you could have gone back in the archive to dig up from 2019, you speaking in the parliament and Paris speaking in the parliament and all of that. You should have gone back and dug up to prove your point that it was published. Because I'm certain for the majority of Trinidad and Tobago, the first time we heard about you getting any money was last week, Tuesday. First time. I don't know where it was published. Maybe it was probably, I don't know if it is they published it in the, what was the name of that newspaper? The Voice newspaper, yeah, that they used to be given out free. Maybe that's where it published, but no other publication that I am aware of. But Keith Rowley is a liar. And the supporters know Rowley is a liar and this one is a liar. But all the leader don't lie. No, she's a paragon of virtue. Yeah. Her hands are clean and her heart is pure. She don't lie. No. All the liars is in the PNM. But she can't bring herself to say the word that they perceive us, that they said that we were corrupt, right? Yeah. That article bothering her. Waiting, I can't wait for Sunday. I'm making sure I get an early copy of my Express. Part 2. Don't miss it. Make sure and get all your Express on Sunday. Take big pictures of it and post it up so that anytime you see they want to come on social media and talk about PNM corruption and PNM invent corruption, just post it. You can just go in Google, see whatever the headline is, pull up the headline, the newspaper article in Google, and just copy it. And every time you see a comment come up on Facebook from a member, the literati, talking about PNM corruption, just paste it into the comment and tell them when we're talking about this. When are we going to speak on this? About UNC corruption. Huh? They can't talk on that at all. They have nothing in there they could refute. Because if their own leader can't refute it, they can't either. Right? And they shame and want to talk about that. We will talk about it. Let me get another part here that you spoke about just now. Hold 1 second. Where did that disappear to? Yeah, I want to talk about Malcolm Jones. I will deal with Malcolm Jones. I will see if I could touch on that again on Sunday because I've fed up with them talk about that Malcolm Jones nonsense. We will expose them. Since all they want to create a booklet of lies, all right, no problem. We could deal with that. Yeah? Bring out all your booklet. And we will refute everyone and expose that party from captain to crook as a bunch of liars, cannot be trusted, and should never be in charge of this country ever again. But I digress. Let me move along. Let me get this. The next thing I wanted to play that she said, where is it? So, all right, we're going again.
Talk about your record. Let us talk about that. Piarco was a quarter century ago. Will someone please tell Mr. Rowley that Mr. Pandey has retired and he has nothing to do with today's UNC? So don't tie that to me.
The Piarco airport was a quarter century ago. Could somebody please tell Mr. Rowley that Mr. Pandey has retired and he's not a part of the present UNC? So don't tie that to me. Don't tie what to you, Kamala Persad-Bissessar? So now she's trying to put the blame on Pandey. Yeah? After a couple months ago, you told us it was a 25-year PNM, a 25-year campaign, PNM smear campaign designed to make the UNC look corrupt. Right? That's what it was. That's what you said the other day. So everything, that whole airport scandal thing was a lie. You're coming now to say that the Piarco airport issue is 25 years old, a quarter century old, and Mr. Pandey is no longer a part of the current UNC. So in other words, blame Pandey for that. You see that article that come out in the Sunday Express with all of that evidence from an independent commission of inquiry, right? That shows the UNC to be corrupt to the hilt. Don't blame me. Blame Pandey. He was the prime minister. Don't try to pin that on me. Don't bolt that to my chest, right? Yeah. So we went from is a smear campaign to it's not my fault. It's Pandey's fault. What is Pandey's fault? That the UNC is corrupt? So you are part of that government. So it's only Pandey knew what was going on. He was the prime minister. What role did you play when he made you Attorney General? Why did he make you Attorney General after he fired Ramesh? Why it had so many other lawyers in the UNC? Because the UNC only had the best lawyers in the whole world. The best lawyers, right? He couldn't find no other lawyer in the UNC camp to make Attorney General. He gave you the work, right? And as soon as you got the work, all of the investigations that Ramesh had embarked on suddenly went quiet. All, including the Piarco airport investigation. And with all of these revelations coming out now, I would love for Kamala Persad-Bissessar to tell us, what did you do as Attorney General in furtherance of this investigation? From the time you took the oath and the president handed you the document stating that you are now the Attorney General of Trinidad and Tobago, what did you do from that point to the point where the election took place and your party was voted out? What did you do, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, in furtherance? Because this entire thing was on you. You were the legal advisor to the government. And just as Ramesh was the man spearheading the investigation, Ramesh was the man who hired Lindquist, Ramesh was the man who hired Carl Hudson Phillips, you had the power and authority to continue with this investigation. Tell us what you did. No talk on that, right? The only thing she could find to mention about that article, that 2-page article, part 1, was that it exonerated DPL Jolene John. Nobody ever had any issue with Jolene John. The evidence is there to show that Jolene John, in the Commission of Inquiry, would have testified that she was the one that when she came in, the greed was palpable. She could not believe the level of corruption that had overtaken this project. She, Jolene John, in the Commission of Inquiry, indicated that she went to Mr. Pandey and told him about what was taking place. And Pandey said to her, I am aware. It is a milch cow and a feeding frenzy. Nobody accused Jolene John of any wrongdoing in the Piarco Airport matter. So to come now and say that this report, Commission of Inquiry report, fully exonerated DPL John. Well, I want to ask Kamla, between 2010 to 2015, you were the Prime Minister. You had access to this Commission of Inquiry report. Why didn't you publish it to exonerate DPL Jolene John between 2010 and 2015, since you want to convince us now that there was some issue with Jolene John? The people who were fingered, and Jolene John was never arrested, she was never charged, she was never fingered in this thing, right? This Commission of Inquiry report, and again, it is the attempt by Mrs. Prasad Bisesa to deflect, to deceive. Did it exonerate Carlos John? Did it exonerate Ish Galbaransing? Did it exonerate Steve Ferguson? Did it exonerate Brian Quaitong? Did it exonerate Russell Huggins? All of the people whose names have been mentioned, all of the people who are currently before the courthouse for the role they played in this massive corruption as defined by the Express. Did it exonerate any of them? No. You couldn't mention none of those names, but it exonerated DPL John. Really? Prasad Bisesa? We're going again.
To me, go where you need to go. Tell us how you're dealing with real issues terrorizing citizens.
Go where you need to go. Where should he go? Where should Rowley go with respect to this? Because you said it was a smear campaign. It's not real. Everything that was said about it was just imaginative. The PNM created that. Right? That was a hoax. Somebody sit down behind a typewriter and type up all of that. Now, with the evidence, you see, she cannot come now and repeat what she said a couple months ago that it was a smear campaign. Because now the findings of the Commission of Inquiry report is there. You know what they're concerned about? Or the PNM antsy and the PNM in panic mode. It's only a matter of time. I'm sure that when part 2 comes out on Sunday, probably if they have the Monday night forum, they will say that the Express play in politics. That how convenient it is that as we are on the cusp of our local government election, all of a sudden the Express decides to publish the contents of this report. All of a sudden the Express has come into possession of this report that they couldn't access for the last how many years. And the focus is not going to be on the contents of the report at all. It's that the Express trying to play politics, that they're trying to help the PNM win the election by publishing this now to make the UNC look bad. That's what they're coming with. That's what they come with. So let's focus on that. But they're concerned that, yes, there are persons who are probably dissatisfied with the government for whatever reason. Rooted not necessarily in fact. Unfortunately, again, because of weak PR, the opposition of this country have managed to successfully convince people that the PNM, that this is the worst government ever. And in the absence of the government having an effective public relations arm, communications arm, to share with the people what it is that they are doing. Because there are lots of UNC minions who have been bombarding the debunking UNC lies with fact speech, right? They come in droves because as you guys share the different posts that we put up, and the page is reaching people. So even those who don't follow the page, they see in the content and they're concerned. So they're looking to attack now and they come in on the page and making all kind of statements and whatnot and stuff. Can't defend. Right? They cannot deny what we are posting. So they come in to talk about who is like bottom African and all kind of thing. That's all they could do. Yeah? But to say this is a lie and look, the evidence here to show is a lie, they cannot do that. So they're banking on, or they know that they can't win the election simply with UNC support. So they need the support of the people who sit on the fence. The people who are neither fish nor fowl. So they don't support the PNM, they don't support the UNC, they don't support any particular party, but they're looking to see which is the best option. And it doesn't help them that this story is coming out now on the heels of the Mark Bassant 5-part series. So if the 5-part series didn't do damage enough to now come and have the contents of this Commission of Inquiry report, this independent Commission of Inquiry report come out, it doesn't help them. So anybody that they were hoping, any defense sitters who might be willing to vote for them, they probably say, well, that's gone out the window now, because when they read this story and realize that a lot of the players who were present and who were part of that government from 1995 to 2001 are still around, and the chief one being Kamla Persad-Bissessar, who served in no less of a position than that of Attorney General. In fact, she was Attorney General, Minister of Education, Minister of Legal Affairs. So she was one of the high-ranking ministers in that administration. But it would have us believe that with all of this corruption that was going on, Jolene John knew, Pandey knew, he said, I'm aware. Ramesh Maharaj knew, hence the reason he launched the investigation. Trevor Sodama knew, hence the reason he, Ramesh, and Ralph Maharaj would have resigned. Ralph Maharaj knew. Humphrey said he knew a little bit, he didn't know the full extent. So all of these ministers were aware of the corruption that was taking place. But Kamla, with her clean hands and pure heart, she didn't know. I was totally oblivious. I wasn't aware this was going on. Even when I became Attorney General and I sat in that office for how many months and I saw all of the files and the reports that Ramesh was looking at and that he had compiled showing this evidence of corruption, I didn't know. So don't blame me. Blame Pandey. Don't try to put this on me. That was Pandey's fault. Yes, I was the only minister in the government at that time who didn't know what was going on. So you all can't say that I was supporting corruption because I didn't know. You didn't know. We continue.
Go and read the article in the Trinidad Express and see that Sunday Express massive corruption headline. It was DPL John because you call the lady name on platform. You call JJ name on the platform. You don't call her name. You say the DPL of the UNC. You call
the DPL of the UNC. So the UNC only had one deputy political leader. Last I checked, they had 3. But you know which one you claim was mentioned on the PNM platform, right? No, you just say you didn't call her name, but you say the DPL. Okay.
Name and fiasco. And when you read the article, which is based on the Commission of Inquiry into the airport, you will see that it was DPL John who stood up against what was happening in Piarco.
DPL John stood up against what was happening? What was happening? What was happening, Kamla? The 25-year smear campaign, PNM smear campaign designed to make the UNC look corrupt. What was happening? So you only suddenly came to this revelation in the last 2 months because you were prepared to stand by that characterization just the other day. But all of a sudden you have a change of heart now. What did DPL John stand up to? I'm confused. I'm confused because for the last 25 years you have been telling us it had no corruption there. That was all lies. The PNM make that up. So I'm confused. What did DPL John stand up to? Couldn't be corruption, not according to you.
Don't call the lady name. Don't put her in your comments. And I could talk about my record.
DPL John stood up. You know who she didn't say stood up? Me. I, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, stood up. She didn't say that, and she cannot say that because the evidence is to the contrary. And if she said, I stood up, should be yet another example that she's a damn blasted liar. But she can't say, I stood up. Why you can't say that? You know who could say they stood up? Ramesh Maharaj, Trevor Sodama, Ralph Maharaj. They could say they stood up. Jolene John, yes. When we look at the testimony that she gave in the Commission of Inquiry implicating, she wasn't afraid to say that she went and she told Pandey about the corruption, and Pandey said, I am aware. How Pandey could be aware and Kamla not aware? How the Prime Minister could be aware and the Attorney General not be aware? How? So Pandey said he's aware. Julian is aware. All those other ministers that I mentioned to you are aware. And the person who had access to all of the information wants to tell you, don't blame me. It's Pandey. Bolted to his chest. Pandey is no longer part of the UNC. Right? So go where you need to. You don't say that, just don't go where you need to. Go and talk to Pandey. Yeah, call up Pandey name. Don't call my name and don't call anybody else's name. It was only Pandey. So Pandey was a government of one. A cabinet of one. Nobody else. Yeah? Nobody else. So she was just completely oblivious. She was living in the dome. Yeah, the dome that she wanted to establish over Trinidad during COVID. Between when she was Attorney General, she was when she wanted to get rid of Carl Hudson Phillips and Bob Lindquist. You see, again, if we had proper journalists in this country, all of these questions would have been put to Kamala Persad-Bissessar. When she held the press conference the other day, they would have thrown these questions out to her to ask her that. Do you still stand by your characterization of the Piarco Airport project as it being a 25-year PNM smear campaign? Put her on the spot and let her answer the question. Let her say yes. And if she says no, so then the other day when you said that, do you admit that you were lying? Do you admit that you were trying to deceive not only the audience in the Monday Night Forum, but by extension Trinidad and Tobago? Do you accept that? Put her on the spot. Let her admit that she is a liar. But her minions, the sycophants, the blind sycophants in that party, yeah? Rowley is a liar. And Limo and the Attorney General is a liar. But the person leading your party, the person at the helm of your party, lies with impunity. Lies with impunity. And you all can't see that. Yeah? Apparently all your ears and all have glaucoma and cataract, not just your eye. Well, you can't see that and can't hear that. But you all are experts in identifying lies from the PNM camp and want to convince the rest of us that we should vote for that nonsense. Yeah? A bunch of liars. I keep saying the future of the UNC is just as dishonest as the present. Saddam Hussein, who it is not inconceivable to believe that should the UNC come back into office in 2025, he is quite likely to be either the Attorney General, because you know they're always about records. Yeah? So they would want to say the UNC would have produced the youngest Attorney General in this country's history. And he always all up on that camera. Yeah? All up on that camera like if he's like deodorant. Wherever she is, he there. Heel on heel, step on step. So every time she talking now, she keeps referencing Saddam. Yeah, because apparently he prepares her text for her to speak. So on Monday night when she finished talking now, apparently there was another issue that he had given her to talk about, and she ran out of time. So she said something about eating or eat a food or something. So she's like, well, I have so many things, so I'll talk about that on another occasion. She didn't realize she was on mic still when she said it, right? Saddam Hussein, and I just digress a little bit because I need to play the clown, just to demonstrate to you what is at stake, that these people cannot be trusted. Saddam Hussein, as I said, could either be the next Attorney General if you all allow these people to get into office again. He could be Minister of Legal Affairs, Minister of Justice, and I verily believe that if, God forbid, they were to come back into office, he would serve in one of those positions because he knows how to play the game, right? Very sly individual when you look at it. Now, when he had a press conference a few months ago with respect to the Vincent Nelson matter, Nelson Gate, he indicated in that, and he was going through whatever documents and so on, and he said that Vincent Nelson could be an excellent fiction writer, that the entire statement that Vincent Nelson would have proffered as evidence in which he identified the dates on which he transferred monies from his NatWest bank account in England to the bank account of Gerald Ramdeen for that money to be given to Anand Ramlogan, right? Because at the time, Ramdeen wasn't in public life, so he wouldn't have been required to fill out the Integrity in Public Life Act declaration and stuff, which was, deadline was yesterday for us to submit that, right? He wouldn't have had to. So he could have received the money and his bank accounts would have been safe. Vincent Nelson would have outlined the dates on which he sent the money, the amounts of money that he sent. He gave the police the account number that he sent the money to, the name on the account, the bank in which the account is held, the branch, all of that information. He would have also indicated that he provided wire transfer receipts to show that the money was transferred. So we all know about that article, that Sunday Express article that was carried identifying testimony of Vincent Nelson, right? He admitted to this. It is very easy to prove all of that. Saddam Hussein is on record as having admitted, when they had the whole debacle the other day about the DPP, that he started his legal career in the office of the DPP, right? He did an internship there for a period of a couple of years or whatever it is when he came out of law school and he was looking for work. So he is intimately aware, more so than lawyers who would have gone straight into private practice, having left law school. He is intimately aware as to how the investigative process operates. So he knows that when the police bring the file to the DPP's office, what happens? When a lawyer from the DPP's office is assigned the file to scrutinize and go through, to look at what evidence is there, to advise the police as to whether or not they need to go and do further investigations, or if what is contained in this file is sufficient for them to make out a prima facie case against the accused. So he understands, he knows full well that when Vincent Nelson would have made this statement and provided the police with information indicating that he would have wire transferred a series of deposits into a bank account said to be in the name of Gerald Ramdeen, that part of the investigative process would be that the police would apply for a production order from the court to serve on Scotiabank so that they could get access to Gerald Ramdeen's bank account statements from the time the account was open to present, because they would go as far back as they possibly can to see if there's a trail, because we need to see, well, okay, when the account was open, this account is 3 years old, but for the first year, you only had small deposits coming in about 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, and all of a sudden, between 2010 to 2015, we're seeing big deposits, 200,000, 500,000. So they would look for a pattern. What is it that happened between this period from the time the account was open to then, and then from now to then, we see all of this money is coming in here. So the police wouldn't just say, well, Mr. Vincent tell us now. So Nelson talk, and the police say, okay, very good, thanks for that. Put together a file and we carry it without going. So it is very easy, very easy for the police to prove what Vincent Nelson has said with respect to the monies that he transferred. So I am sure they have in their possession copies of Gerald Ramdeen's bank account and bank statement, showing to corroborate what it is Vincent Nelson said, right? Because the DPP is not going to just take word of mouth without proving it, without confirming and verifying it, to end up in the courtroom, and then you have a defense attorney, the likes of Pamela Elder, coming to rake the witness over the coals. And then he only to say, well, Mr. Nelson, you say that you transferred these 5 amounts of money to Mr. Ramdeen's bank account and such date, but we have a copy of Mr. Ramdeen's statement here, and we're not seeing any corresponding deposits. Could you explain that? So the police would have verified that. So as a former DPP office attorney, Saddam Hussein is fully aware that that would have been done. So he knows that when he comes and he sits down and he says that that statement that was proffered as evidence by Vincent Nelson is fiction, a fairy tale, and Vincent Nelson could be an excellent fiction writer. He knows that he was talking fiction. Saddam Hussein, knows that he was lying in that press conference when he said that. Because he knows it is very simple. And I would be very surprised if the police didn't go to that length in order to verify and confirm what it is that Mr. Nelson testified to and what he claimed. So that they have that evidence. But the supporters of the UNC will continue to say, oh, Faris and Rowley and the PNM, they bribed Nelson to lie on Ram Logan and Ramdeen. They don't want to, so everything that Nelson says is a lie. So I want to ask them, you all was singing a song before, when it was announced that the DPP was, for now, discontinuing the charges against these 2 men, right? Them boys going and make real money. Yeah, they're going and sue for wrongful arrest and malicious prosecution. How many months now has it been since the DPP discontinued the charges against those men? Is it that Ramdeen and Ram Logan don't know how to file suit for malicious prosecution and wrongful arrest? What are they waiting on? Since those charges were dismissed by the DPP, up to now, have you seen Gerald Ramdeen or Anand Ram Logan have a press conference? Have they put out anything to say that they were the victims of political victimization, that they were wrongfully arrested, that they were the victims of malicious prosecution? Knowing how them men love money bad, how come they ain't sue the state yet? Or is it that Mrs. Prasad says, how come and tell us, well, yes, all of them know that it was published. Up to now, not a lawsuit. You know why? They ain't gonna file no lawsuit. Because the moment you file a lawsuit, the state has to defend itself. And the state has to now come and state what evidence it would have used to make a determination to arrest these men and to prosecute them. In which case, the state will have to present the bank statements. As this is what? This was the evidence. This is the docket. This is the dossier of evidence that we have, that we used to make the decision to prosecute. And all of that will come out into the open. And they can't risk that. So you know what? Let sleeping dogs lie. Hopefully, Nelson would lose his civil case and decide, you know what? I have nothing to gain from this, so I'm not bothering to testify, and charges dead. That's what they're hoping. Yeah? But the UNC supporters can't accept that. But when you call them dunce, they vex. They vex. So that's simple analysis. It's just not registering in the cojones. I don't know. It's just not reaching there. So the elevator only reaching halfway up. Can't go any further. Yeah? And when it is that you have somebody like Saddam Hussein, who figured that all of us are of the waterfront ilk, everything good. Ask Sheena. I don't know. No, sir. The waterfront ilk is reserved for your party. You could share that bollocks with them, and they would believe that. But the rest of us outside here, we are not fooled by that. And he's a future leader of that party. I'm sure he probably has aspirations to perhaps one day become the leader. Yeah? Hoping that Kamala would anoint him like she anointed this other one, Munilal, who now seems to be out in the wilderness. And then this clown, and the robbers want to talk about the PNM fracture and how much people fighting for leadership within the PNM. How it is that Munilal so quiet all of a sudden. He had plenty to say in 2015 after they lost the election, when he was challenging Kamala for the leadership. Plenty to say about her, how she was unfit and whatever, as the case may be. You know, she served her time, but the party needs to move on and they need to heal and you need to get a new leader. And all of a sudden is, oh yes, great leader. Yes, great leader. She must see it. As I said, any man in the UNC, when you're coming in, Kamala just tell you, hey, leave your testicles by the door. You have a box there. You're not going to need that for the next 5 years if it is that you're an MP. And if it is that you are a councillor, you're not going to need those testicles for at least the next 3 years, or soon to be 4 years. So just leave your testicles there, right? And when you're leaving the party or when you're no longer in office, you will collect it on your way out, right? That's how it operates in that party. No testicular fortitude whatsoever. Yeah? So plenty of them wanted to go, you know, but they only talking that in hushed places. When it is that they meet up and they, you know, yeah, all of them, she had to go. It's because of the party can't win an election and all of that. But you feel when they will ever tell her that in her presence? Wait. But want to be talking about, look, let me get to the next clown. Clown number 2. Now, I crave your indulgence, people, because this one it is difficult and annoying to listen to this man any day, any point in time, for any amount of time, right? But I feel I need to play this, so bear with me. I beg again? All right. So let me get this here. Let me turn this off here. Right. Turn this on here. Let's go. So I'm gonna pull this up here. Where is it? Disrespectful twat. But anyway, it is what it is. Right.
Treatment of 468 workers saved.
No, that's not it. It's the next one. So just give me 1 second. Here we go.
Rauli say he is local. Election coming now and Rauli move these two. Rauli say, I am black. I am black, and people in the PNM, you know, he bring back our regurgitating a story, but he like black people, right? So let me answer this. This black man here, now Rauli, new CEO of Heritage, Eric Keskula. Now, Mr. Keskula, I'm here, you look very qualified as your business. But you see, this man claims now, as the election is coming up, that he's a black man.
So before I go further, he has up a picture on the screen of Mr. Eric Kescula, who is the new CEO of Heritage, right? A foreigner, a white man. So he puts up this picture, and of course he starts. So he says, who is this black man here, right? Mr. Kescula is white. He says, who is this black man here? He goes on to say, Mr. Kescula, you look very qualified and so on. So apparently he could just watch somebody's face and see that they qualify. So if you could just look at the man and you know that he's qualified, you could say he looks qualified. You have not seen his resume. You don't know anything about him. What is his history or anything, but you just look at him and you know he's qualified. So therefore that should tell you something, right? But he says, but he refers to Mr. Kescula as a black man. So I challenged him in the comments, right? And I asked him, so I made the point, I said, but the government of which you were a part brought 2 white Canadians to Trinidad. You bypass all the local police officers, those who have been in the police service for how many years, have been trying to climb the ladder with aspirations of reaching the top, commissioner of police, and then you all just cut all their hopes, all their aspirations, and you bring 2 Canadians to give them the top job. 2 white Canadians, and you pay them millions. I didn't see you complain there that if we didn't have locals who could fill the position. I didn't hear anybody. This clown, he was in government. I didn't hear him stand up and object when it is that the parliament, the opposition, the government then voted to retain the services of these 2 men. I don't recall him getting up and saying, I object on the basis that we have qualified citizens in Trinidad and Tobago who could do the work. But you have a problem now with Mr. Kescula because he's not local and he is white. So I pointed out to him as well. The government of which you were a part brought a man by the name of Michael DeLolo to lead Caribbean Airlines, and you all paid him a salary of $33,000 per month, right? That is more than what is being paid to Mr. Kescula. I don't recall you getting up and complaining that you had an issue with a foreigner, 1, a white foreigner, 2, and the amount of money that was being paid to him. But you have a problem with Mr. Kescula being appointed to lead Heritage, but you didn't have a problem at least those 2. I continue.
And he's proud to be black. And he's for pro-black. And people must ignore the UNC because them is Indian. Never mind the top of 50% black man and black woman. Forget that. That's his argument, race card. Well, let me ask you this.
The UNC have 50% black man and 50% Indian. But they probably want to tell you, don't vote for the UNC because the UNC is Indian. Really? Is that 50% black man and 50% Indian reflected in the lower house? Where you have 19 members of parliament sitting on the opposition bench. And of the 19, 2.5 are Africans. And of the 2.5 Africans, 1 3/4 want to be Indian. But you want to talk about 50% black man and 50% East Indian? Dr. Rowley said so many things last week, Tuesday. The only thing he could have found to talk about is that Dr. Rowley spoke about how at one point in time, it was said that his skin color might have been an issue, or his skin color ought to disqualify him from being prime minister. That's the only thing he heard Dr. Rowley say last week, Tuesday. You sit down and hear Dr. Rowley talk for about an hour and more. And that's the only thing you heard. And you decide to come and do a whole live for 10 plus minutes talking about how Rowley say he's a black man. Right? I continue. Let me get this right.
This Rowley in the whole of Trinidad and Tobago that involved in oil and gas since 1908. We involved in oil and gas so much that your friend and your neighbor from Inez Gate, Gilbert Peterson, who know nothing about bunkering, he know about bunkering in Inez Gate next to you. Get a bunkering contract and didn't know it's a competitive industry. He is a senior counsel lawyer, but he know about oil. Oh, well, Rowley, out of all the black people in Trinidad and Tobago, all the intelligent engineers, chemical engineers, and those who have existed in the energy sector from 1908 to now, you couldn't find none to hire Rowley?
No, you heard what he said there? All of the black, intelligent, whatever, you couldn't find none. And when I challenged him, he replied to me to say that to tell me to listen to the entire clip and we'll then come again. It is not, nobody cares if Mr. Keskula is white or black. That has to be a special kind of dunce. We already know he's an idiot extraordinaire, right? They say a joke twice is never nice, which is probably why his parents didn't have twins. But you're coming here to try to fool us, to tell us that, to tell me, it's not about whether he white or black. But you put up the man picture, and the first thing you say is, you see this black man here? Who are you trying to fool? Really? But it had nothing to do with whether he white or black, right? But on 2 occasions, so far, in about 2 minutes, you refer to him, Mr. Keskula, a white man, you refer to him as black. But that is not the issue. That is not the issue, right? Nobody cares if he's white or black. All right. But he getting views and he getting shares. I continue.
Are you Rowley? We found this. You see, you want to play race card, the Douglas not afraid race. Let me talk race. Because you cannot come and monoganize people and tell people you're black, but you're suffering black people. Black benchers can't get sick. Black people can't get contract. No black billionaires. Black people suffering. Black children getting murdered daily. Black people losing their work all over the country. And you talking about your milk, I have seen people make reference to my skin color as if it is something that disqualifies me. That should not bother me and should not bother you. And imagine most of that damn nonsense comes from black people. Imagine black people calling me black. They saying I am black. If they only know I love my black color. All of that? All of that for what? Election? Black people? You, that's your pitch? You will come to tell people, well, I increase jobs, I increase opportunity, and I even have a black CEO of Heritage. I open back Petrotrin, and all the black people that were fired, they now have work. In agriculture, they have work. Black man have work. We giving out 500 more scholarships because black people doing good in school. Black people not killing each other. Guns, the gang membership of black people going down. Black people living in houses where water flowing normal. None of these things you could say. You just come to say, I am black, and some people call me black. You just concoct an entire narrative because you have nothing to tell the electorate. Election. 2015, he used the same story. Yes, he bring it back. And remember, Fitzgerald Hines was on the platform in 2014, and he was saying, remember the people in the PNM was saying Rowley was too black to be the leader. Always some kind of nonsense. But he does forget black people when he have to make a cabinet. Because the last time I checked, Smallpin not black, Coleman but not black, Arawi not black, Rohan Sinanan not black, Convan Girl not black, all the big boys not black, Richie Sukai not black. But he come to play Rick.
Y'all understand? Y'all understand what it is the UNC trying to do here? The playbook? Yes, I know, Sarah, it has hurt me. It hurting me too. That's why I say just indulge me just this morning, right? So they come into gaslight black people, well, persons of African descent, because you know when he uses the reference, they're black. When we use the term black, as far as I know, right? If you're not white, you're black. So whether you're African, East Indian, or whatever it is, you're black. But he's using the term here black to mean persons of African descent. And trying to gaslight black people to tell them, reject Rowley, because Rowley say he black. The PNM supposed to be an African party, but the PNM is too cosmopolitan. The cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago is too representative, right, of the ethnic diversity of Trinidad and Tobago, because it only have Africans, as it should, according to him, it's supposed to be, because the PNM is supposed to be an African party. So the whole cabinet, the 23 of them, supposed to be African. But that is not what it is, because you have East Indian, Chinese, French Creole, you name it, is a whole melting pot. So in other words, Africans don't support the PNM, reject Rowley, because Rowley not racist enough. He's not racist enough. Yeah? You can't have an African party with so many different races. You cannot have an African political party that is so representative of all the different races in Trinidad and Tobago. And I never hear nobody say, the PNM say that PNM is supposed to be an African party, right? Because even from the days with the founder, Eric Williams, you had people the likes of George Chambers, you had people the likes of Errol Mahabir, O'Halloran, Kamaluddin Mohammed. Same thing, right? Since back then, so this is nothing new. But he want to tell you, black people, you see, all you had nothing. The same thing Philip Alexander said when he did his post the other day, and he said, and this is somebody who's aspiring to be the next prime minister of this country, that all the other races in Trinidad and Tobago have stuff, but black people, Africans, have no industry. The only purpose or the only role that Africans play in Trinidad and Tobago is as laborers and consumers. So all they could do is to work 8 to 4, 9 to 5, 6 to 2, 10 to 6, and all of that, collect a pay, and go and spend it. But they serve no other useful purpose to this country because it have no black business owners. There's Philip Alexander. And you have this clown now coming to tell and to gaslight Africans to say, here, what now? Don't vote for the PNM, reject Rowley because it's only African committing crime. It's only Africans that don't own business. It's only Africans that suffering. It's only Africans dropping out of school. It's only Africans that they have no education, right? Thanks to the PNM from 1956 to 2023. So in the whole of Trinidad and Tobago, according to that Africans is the most disadvantaged in the whole country. Yeah, they have nothing to offer. There's only negative. And you have Rowley saying he's a proud black man, but he ain't doing nothing for Africa. He ain't doing nothing to uplift the African man. Yes, and for that, you should reject him because look at what he's doing in the cabinet. Even in the cabinet, he ain't get no silk to none of the African attorneys. So he ain't give Keith Scotland no silk, and he ain't give Camille Robertson no silk, and he ain't give no silk to Marvin Gonzalez or any of the other African lawyers in the cabinet, right? He ain't give silk to Faris either, but you ain't gonna talk about that, yeah? Because when I checked, persons were required to apply for silk, so it wasn't that the prime minister sit down home in his office or wherever it is and say, hey, let me see who I giving silk to, boy. Okay, right? Let me just come up with names at the top of my head. Persons were invited to apply to the Attorney General, and then the Attorney General would consult with the cabinet, make a recommendation, and then the cabinet would approve it. But he coming out to say, you see, Rowley, he care about black people, and there's only pay lip service to black people. But when it is that the same Rowley and the same PNM decided to build swimming pools in Laventille and Mova, they had an issue with that. Yeah? They had an issue with that. When it is that the same Rowley and the same PNM came up with the Homestead program that is designed to create 200 new entrepreneurs every year in agriculture. Because every time they talk about diversification, it's always agriculture. 200 people every year getting 1 year's training at the University of the West Indies in agriculture at the expense of the state. So the government paying for it for you, you're all pay for it. When you finish, successfully complete the course, you're getting land, you're getting a starter home, you're getting some money to start your business. The UNC jump up and say, that is voter pardon. So they create this program now to put the PNM people in all over the country in UNC constituencies to boost the vote count. But he commented to say the PNM don't do nothing for black people. And every time, and I've said this on numerous occasions, every time the PNM does anything, once the PNM is in office and they do anything that even hints at affirmative action, they do anything that seems to be targeting persons of African descent, the UNC ready to run to the courthouse, to run to the Equal Opportunities Commission to cry discrimination, right? We saw it, Mr. Manning, scholarship fund. They say it was a PNM slush fund designed only to give scholarship to black people in PNM. Every little thing. They wait in. If it's not Ravi Balgo bin Maraj, well, back then it used to be Devant Maraj, well, now he switched allegiances and so on. He's not PNM, but he's not UNCI, well, at least not Kamla UNC. Yeah? Ready, wait in, run up in the courthouse so that the court can say, yes, that is discrimination. Nothing, anything that this government, 1 day in office, they could do whatever it is that they want to claim that they're helping black people. helping Africans, right? Because what do you PNM will do? Run to the court and say it's discrimination. The PNM is supposed to be a black party. The PNM can't fight down the UNC and East Indian Party helping out the black man. So we can do it. And what is the help that they offer the black man? Color me orange, $69 a day to paint a building for 3 months. And what will happen to you after that 3 months when the contract done? Well, we will see about that when we'll cross that bridge when we come to it now. Baby grant, $500 to make child. Yeah, so we need to keep you all in a state of dependency. All right? So, or they just go and make child. And as soon as one pop out, put another one in the oven. Because apparently $500 a month could mind child. Yeah? $500 a month could buy Pampers, milk, and everything else that the child needs. That is what. Food card. As you will hear later on in the same clip, they increase the number of people holding food cards of 18,000 to 42. And for him, that is a big boast. So you added 24,000 people to the dependency list by giving them food card. And you boasting, yes, we increase it from 18 to 42. That is thing to boast about, right? Go on the international stage and say, yes, the government increased the number of people on welfare. Rather than come up with strategies to move them from the point that they are in to improve their lot, to improve their standard of living. You know what we do? We get them a handout for them to become more dependent. Yeah? That's what we did. And we beat in our chest and boasting that we did that. Nice thing to boast about. Yeah, Kamla do that. Under Kamla, how much food card we give out? How much of that additional 24,000 was people actually in need of food support? Yeah? But that is what they gave to the Africans and them. What they get them? A state of emergency in 2011. Pull them by the scruff of the pants and throw them in the back of the van. Come, jump in the Maria, we're going on the road. The Attorney General say, lock all you up and we go find the evidence later. Because you fit the description. You're bareback, you have on a rubber slippers on your foot, and your pants below your waist, you fit the description. Jump in the van, we don't want to hear nothing. Up the road with you. Either you're going Golden Grove, or we send you up to the Eastern Correctional Facility. Hush your mouth. And if you say anything, that boss will slap on you. Yeah? You want to see by the time you reach up by the prison, you need a dentist, hush your mouth inside there, jump in. That's what they give to the Africans. They pay Selwyn Ryan a set of money to do a report on at-risk youth, black African youth. That's what they do. Yeah, the money couldn't benefit them. What they offer the black man, the African, we want to give you these old, dilapidated, rundown apartments in East Port of Spain for $100, so we can absolve the HDC of any responsibility for maintenance. But we're giving you something. Look, you're going to own this apartment, $100. That's all you have to pay. You own rent from since Jesus was in Pampas. That's okay. We will write off that debt. $100 and it's yours. And any problems afterward, that is your headache. Don't blame me. That is what she offered to the black man that they're so concerned about today, the black man who's struggling, the black man who don't own no business, right? The black man whose only purpose and sole purpose in Trinidad and Tobago is to work and spend, nothing else. And that is how the UNC, with clowns like he, no, that's the only characterization they know for persons of African descent. But you have so many persons of African descent excelling in academia. You ain't gonna talk about that. Excelling in sport, we ain't gonna talk about that. And he's the biggest sportsman it have this side of the Pecos. But you ain't gonna talk about that. Yeah? There's only black man suffering. And it's the black man behind bars. And the black man committing crime. And it's the black man making a set of children. And the black man this and the black man that. Nothing positive could come out of his mouth. And he's telling you, vote for us. Vote for us so that we could continue to perpetuate that. We will give them nothing for upliftment. Nothing. Right? Because every time they have to talk about what it is Kamla Persad-Bissessar did for the poor when she was prime minister, all they could refer to is items of dependency, social welfare, public assistance. Yeah, we're going to give you that. We cannot allow you to be upwardly mobile. Because if it is you improve your lot, right? Then you don't need to depend on us. And therefore, there's no carrot we can dangle in front of you to get your vote. We'll give you a corporation work. We give you a CPEP work where you make it $1,800 a month. Just to keep you right there. So no improvement whatsoever. There's no opportunity for improvement. So that we could come and talk this nonsense and say the PNM neglect the African and the PNM neglect the black man. But understand that anytime the PNM make the mistake to say they're doing anything to help and uplift the black man, we waiting and the steps at the courthouse and the Equal Opportunity Commission to run up inside there and make sure we use the law to stop it. But the soft head and them ain't know that. When Kamla give the children and them laptop here. And Kamla do this and Kamla do that, yes. And Rowley take away the laptop and Rowley take away the school feeding and Rowley this and Rowley close the gate. Who created gate? And they say dollar for dollar. One side of the gate open, right? You want the other side open, come with your dollar. And if you don't have a dollar, hard luck. Salt. Only who have the dollar could come. So for every dollar you put out, we put a dollar. But if you don't have any money to put out, oops, down the road for you. CPEP, URP. That's for you, right? Yeah, but she wanted to talk about when she came in, she opened the gate. The gate you open. When Patrick Manning wanted to establish UTT, she was the same one who said, we have enough universities in the country. Why you want to create another university to compete with UWI? And we already have so many other tertiary level education institutions in the country. We don't need UTT. She said that, but all of a sudden, she is the de facto supporter and promoter of everything education. Education. But you didn't want UTT. Nah. But Manning said we acknowledge that not everybody may be academically inclined, and some people may want to look for to gravitate towards the vocational. We don't want that. We only want liar and doctor. I continue. Crave your indulgence for a little longer, please.
Not black, but he come to play race. Look, read this bomb in 2014, February 7, 2014. Go up. Dr. Keith Rowley's dark skin was cited as the only ground of objection to his leading Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister. Former Senator Fitzgerald Hines said on Wednesday night, "You going up more or you don't more?" Well, he continued, but they bring back the same story. Let me tell you all something. Any human being, especially in a country like Trinidad and Tobago, where we all live together, line together, party together, eat, feed each other, take care of each other. We don't look at no race, no nothing, all of us Trinbagonian. Any fool who gets up and start to play race card one time, he is the incumbent, he is the Prime Minister, he in charge 8 years, he spent over $425 billion and come to tell you about the black. I tell you all to reject that stupidity.
He didn't know to tell Kamla Persad-Bissessar and to tell the people to reject the stupidity of Kamla Persad-Bissessar when, at a meeting in Rio Claro 3 or 4 years ago, the Rio Claro Secondary School, she told the audience the reason why the PNM don't want to open the Cuba Hospital and the UWI campus in Debe is because they perceive South to be of Indo descent. In other words, because they perceive South to be Indian, that is why, the only reason why they don't want to open the Cuba Hospital and the UWI campus in Debe. But he didn't tell the people to reject that stupidity, right? When he was sitting in the audience when she said that. But just across the road from the Cuba Hospital, the same racist PNM and the same racist Rowley who don't want to open those two facilities because they perceive South to be Indian, just on the other side of the road, they opened the National Aquatic Center that was built by the People's Partnership. And they also opened the National Cycling Center, the Velodrome in Cuba. Same Cuba. They opened that, right? But they perceive South to be of Indo descent. And that is the reason why they didn't open the other two facilities. That wasn't race baiting. He didn't hear that. He wasn't there when she said that. He didn't think that that was stupidity, right? I continue. But this is the lies they come in with, eh? That is the campaign they come in with, the booklet that they plan to send out to fool people. Anyway.
Because the last time he and all was black, it was when he was in the mother room. Because he don't like black people. He does lie on the golf course. How many black people does be there? He does go on big yacht to fish. How many people does be out there? He living in park. How many black men out there? Speaking of the People's National Movement in Belmont, in February, he said, one day at about 1:30 p.m., I was walking through the street.
So he identified there, black man don't be on yacht. Black man don't live in Goodwood Park. Black man don't play golf. That is reserved for the 1%, the French Creole, and the East Indians. That black man don't get involved in them kind of thing. No. You don't see black men doing that. Never mind the fact that some of the best junior golfers in this country are of African descent. Yes? Some of the best are of African descent. Yeah? There are black people one house down the island too, who have yachts too. You just don't hear about them. But he want to believe that Rory playing golf. That is not for black man. So what are you doing playing golf? And he say he black. What are you doing playing golf? That is not for black. And he live in Goodwood Park. Well, then he can't say he black because Goodwood Park only supposed to be for a certain ilk, not persons of African descent. No. Mm-mm. And right, I continue. I hope. Well, listen, no. Because there are plenty softwares out there who taking chin up with this clown talking that talk, right? And running with that. Well, you don't care about no black people. You see thing. All right.
Port of Spain, and I spoke to a former minister of government from a PNM cabinet, and he told me something that troubled me deeply. Now, this PNM talking about PNM, you know, but then they come to take the race card not only in the PNM, they want to put it in election. And this is, he told me something that struck man, kick water on you and you run. He said to me that he had just come from a meeting with a couple of job as political leader of the PNM for the last 3 years. They thought he did a great job and told me shockingly that the only issue that came up in objection was that we had never had such a dark-skinned prime minister. Move that nonsense. Let me tell you something. It is so sickening that is what the PNM is doing. And then they want to come and this fool start to talk and lie on Kamla Persad-Bissessar, and that's why he'll pay in court about her saying something about race and crime. Kamla Persad-Bissessar does no such thing, has never done anything.
That's the only true thing he said there in that whole post. Kamla Persad-Bissessar has never done anything. Nothing. She has done nothing of substance. Nothing. Right? 5-day weekends. Totally useless as a prime minister. Even more useless as a opposition leader. But she's essentially on both occasions was just drawing salary under false pretense. She does nothing to deserve the salary, not when she was prime minister, because she was clueless, the most ignorant and clueless. And by ignorant, well, now I don't need to define that here, I forget. Only excuse me, I apologize. This is not the Monday Night Forum. We don't need no definitions here. I continue. Right, but for the benefit of the UNC listeners, when I use the word ignorant there, it means lacking knowledge. I forget that we have UNC persons listening here too. All right, I continue.
And let me tell you all something. Leave that up there. When you are in charge and you are a racist, you will use your power to oppress the other race that you do not like. Okay? Kamla Persad-Bissessar was the prime minister of this country. And from every ministry, from education, schools, from tertiary education, GATE increased from 300 million to 726 million. Whether it was school feeding, whether it was sport, culture, PAN, across the board, every single ministry, energy sector, job creation, crime fight, every policy, children life fund, social development, food cards from 18,000 to 42,000, every policy implemented by Kamla Persad-Bissessar was made available to each and every citizen, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, class, or color.
Every opportunity was made available to citizens of every race, creed, class, or color. But he have a problem with the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago comprising persons of every creed, race, class, and color. Because according to because the PNM is supposed to be the African party, is only the 23 members of cabinet all supposed to be of African descent. Any nonsense he talking there, contradicting himself. But when you're a clown, when you're an idiot and you don't know it, it's unfortunate, right? So 19 members of opposition, as I said, 2.25 Africans. Because Rowley, this other, what's his name? Rodney Charles is the quarter. He ain't sure if he going or coming, right? So he shave his head just in case. So he can pretend. So when he on the days when he wants to be an African, he will so identify. And the days when he wants to be an East Indian, he could so identify. But you can't tell based on his hair. So he shave his head bald. So we stupid, right? 2.25. The next one is Michelle Benjamin from from Maruga Tableland, and the next one, Anita Haynes is half, and Khadija Amin is the next half. So that is the 2 1/4. Yeah? But he wanted to talk, look, let me hurry up and wrap up this.
Class or color. The PNM, the so-called black man government that start to play race card, dip deep in the back pocket for race card. This one start to talk about how he black. The PNM has suffered black people for over 49 of 64 years that they've been in power. They have taken the resources from black people and distributed it elsewhere. The communities that have stayed PNM are the ones that have served, that are serviced the least by the PNM and have the greatest problems of unemployment, poor infrastructure, high crime rate. That's what the PNM does. This man has made it worse for black people in Trinidad and Tobago over the last 8 years. Every high position in the PNM right now, there's discontent because they're black benchers. Even a man like Keith Scotland, that PNM, he make a dumb move to join the PNM. But one cannot argue with his track record in the courts over the last 25 years. In the courts, he has made groundbreaking judgments and argued cases all the way to the Privy Council. He can't get no silk because that's not what this one is about. When he makes speeches to people who are buying HDC houses, this man talks about throwing sneakers. Don't turn this place into a ghetto. Don't throw sneakers on wires. Even though HDC build no houses or no communities with wire, all the electrical underground. But he's still living in 1916. Like whatever thing he back then, he have a chip on his shoulder that is now suffering black people. And he come to tell you, vote for him because he is a black man. Well, look, the next black man who get 180,000 monthly salary. Where all the black, where my black, Rhoda Barrett, where my black engineers, my chemical engineers, my intelligent energy sector people, where them Rhoda Barrett? Can't find them. Find them by Colm. That big proud black man all they have there.
Yeah, that's the end of it there. I know I tortured you all enough, right? Now I didn't, last I checked, well, as far as I know, Keith Rowley doesn't sit on the interview panel for any state-owned company in this country, right? So Heritage is a state-owned company, and I imagine, as I saw, and I did the research, because when it is that this announcement first came out last week, of course, the first question that the UNC supporters decided to put on social media was this position advertised, and where was it advertised, and all of that, and so on. So I went and I found the advertisement in Caribbean Jobs since last year. Yes? So it was advertised in Trinidad, it was advertised outside of Trinidad, and they were looking for, obviously, the best candidate. Now he, at the start of the video, just look at Mr. Cascula's face and say, you look qualified. Just by looking at the man's face, right? He discerned that he is qualified. But want to now come and tell you, the only thing that disqualifies him is because he's white. Yeah? So he have an issue. But telling me, nobody cares if the man is black or white. But in every reference you've made to Mr. Cascula in your 10-minute lace reading, lace beating rant, you refer to him as a black man. That is the problem. I want to know, so if it is that he was a black man, would you have had that discussion? Because if Mr. Cascula was a black man, then what would be the point of your argument? You're saying, Rowley saying he's a black man, but he hired a white man. The previous CEO, the outgoing CEO, Miss Arlene Chow, who appears to be of East Indian descent, I didn't hear them make any issue in 2018 when Miss Chow was appointed. When they will say, well, it's because she was a local. It had nothing to do with race, yeah? But I didn't hear he say anything there that the issue he has with Mr. Cascula is that he's a foreigner. It's because of the skin color. But is the PNM always pulling the race card, right? PNM always pulling the race card. And poor Mr. Cascula has to come here after he would have qualified, did the interview and so on. And I would imagine that the interview would have had certain criteria. And having sat on interview panels before to fill executive positions, I'm aware you have different questions, you have, and each question will carry certain points and so on. And at the end of the interview, you collate and you tally the points for each of the applicants, and whoever gets the highest score will get the job. But they're not talking about that. No, notwithstanding the fact that the man qualified, and he probably got the highest score. No. And the fact that he could do it, we're not concerned about what benefits he could bring to Heritage. In fact, we don't want him to bring any benefits to Heritage, because any good that he does at the helm of Heritage is a pat on the back of the PNM, right? Once Heritage does well, the PNM could boast about that, and that the UNC can't deal with that, because we need to continue the narrative that the economy of Trinidad and Tobago is on the brink of collapse. We need to continue the narrative that the majority of citizens of Trinidad and Tobago cannot afford to buy the basic food items. They can't afford to put food on the table. They cannot afford to pay their bills. But 2 weeks ago, when I went to Jamaica and I reached up in the airport 5:30 in the morning, if you see people, it took me almost an hour to check in my bag. Right? They go in Canada, Miami, St. Lucia, Antigua, Jamaica, full, but they can't afford to buy basic food items, and they cannot afford to pay their bills, and they cannot afford an increase in the electricity rates, and they cannot afford to pay property tax. Never mind you that each of the countries that these people were flying to, all of those countries have property tax, right? So the citizens in all those countries could afford to pay property tax, but the only country in the world in which the citizens can't afford to pay property tax because they're so hard up is Trinidad and Tobago. Yeah? But we're supposed to be the United States of the Caribbean. We have oil money and gas money. And according to them, we're supposed to be looking like Dubai. Yeah? We never had Dubai money. We never had Dubai level of oil and gas production. But apparently these clowns don't understand that. So every time I see them post that in the comments that with all the oil money that passed through this country, we're supposed to be looking like Dubai. Let me tell you something. Dubai looks like Dubai not because of oil money, not because of government money, right? It is because of the private sector. The private sector. And what is so great? Take away all of the tall buildings and what is Dubai? Desert. But every time they go to Dubai, they're happy to take out pictures or post up on Instagram and TikTok and so on. Hey, look, man, Dubai, I reach. Yeah. Look at what? Tall buildings. You could see that in any metropolis. You could go Canada and see tall buildings. You could go New York and see tall. At all of these developed countries, you could go to and see tall buildings. What is so great that we're supposed to be like Dubai? Half of them don't even know. Well, as I said, they hold in passport just for ID. Never even jump on a plane, but want to talk about we're supposed to be looking like Dubai. The United Arab Emirates produces over 3 million barrels of oil per day. Not even on our best day, the Trinidad and Tobago even hope to produce that kind of oil. So how the hell will they expect us to look like Dubai when we never had Dubai money? And even if it is that we had a good piece of money, they're talking about the PNM squander 2 oil booms. When it is that Trinidad and Tobago's oil production was at its peak in the 70s, the 60s, 70s, whatever it is as the case may be, we were looking at best 300,000 barrels of oil per day. Dubai and the United Arab Emirates producing 10 times that. So obviously they were making 10 times the amount of money that we were making, which is why they could do what they are doing, right? They have their sovereign wealth fund. The more money they make from oil and gas is the more money they could put into the sovereign wealth fund, which we call the Heritage and Stabilization Fund here. But if we're not making that money right now, our country is producing less than 100,000 barrels of oil per day. They're still producing 3 million plus barrels of oil per day. That never stopped. Those numbers didn't go down. But Dubai's economy now is dependent not on oil and gas, but on tourism. Because apparently they have a lot of people in the world who want to run to Dubai to get stiff neck, to look at all these wonderful tall buildings of all these fancy designs and take pictures to say I'm in Dubai. Manning said, build it and they will come. That is what Dubai did. They built it and the people are coming. But when Patrick Manning said, build it and they will come, the UNC said, vanity projects. That is all. Manning wants to change his skyline. Manning is our emperor. Yeah, he obsessed with tall buildings. They're complaining now, under Rowley, how much people lost their work and how many people are unemployed, right? Not enough employment. But in between 2006 and 2010, under Mr. Manning, remember what the complaint was? When they were building the waterfront, when they were building government campus, when it is that they were building the Prime Minister's Residence and Diplomatic Center, when they were building Napa and building Sapa and building the Chancery Lane complex in South that she converted into a hospital and saying she built hospital, when all of that, when they were building houses, thousands of houses all over the country, record-breaking construction was taking place. The same Kamla Prasad Bisesa who is today complaining that how much people lost their work under this government and not enough employment. She was complaining then there's too much employment, too many people employed, the PNM crowding out the private sector, they're overheating the economy. Yes, if it is that you want to do private work home and you want to build a house or expand your house, you can't get a mason, you can't get a carpenter, you cannot get laborers. You go to the hardware and your name on a list for 2 and 3 months to get cement and to get blocks because the PNM building too much. They're doing too many things, too many people employed. So 2006 to 2010 is too much employment. 2015 to 2023, not enough employment. 6 or 1/2 a dozen of the next. Right? That is all they could do, criticize. So when things good, criticize. When it's not good, criticize. It's only good when they're in office. So nothing the PNM does is good. Nothing. Right? The PNM created GATE, there is issue with that too. PNM created CPEP, it says the intergenerational transfer of poverty that no other political leader in the world has ever done worse to the supporters and the membership. That was what Kamla Prasad Bisesa said. And Anand Ramlogan called it a loveless thing that the ancestors of the PNM never imagined that their offspring would be at the side of the road cutting grass, that was supposed to be for supporters of other parties. And look at what Manning has lowered them to. And when they came in 2010, you had just over 5,000 persons employed in CPEP. They took it to over 15,000. The intergenerational transfer of poverty and dependency. That's what it was under the PNM. But when they came in, and it is employment, yes? 50,000 jobs. How many of those were CPEP and URP? Can you give us that breakdown? Talking about home invasion and so much crime. Under them in 2014, Vernon de Lima, 1/2 of the dynamic duo that went all the way to Malaysia to get evidence to show that Kaldahad brother-in-law was one of the directors on Sunway Construction, which was one of the companies that was getting work when all the construction was taking place. He, Vernon de Lima, who helped to get the People's Partnership into office, because under the PP, you would get better governance at Trinidad and Tobago would be a veritable utopia. He and his wife were the victims of home invasion in 2014 where they beat his wife to a pulp. Beat his wife to a pulp. She never fully recovered from that beating and subsequently died. He has since migrated. But they want to talk now about home invasion and Stand Your Ground law and 25 years for home invasion. Right on that same street that Vernon de Lima was living on. No many home invasions took place on that street where they say, boy, some Lavantil was coming over. Yeah? Into Cascade. And one guy went out, and then when he came back home, he left his garage door open. And when he came back home, he had 2 fellas waiting in the garage to rob him and beat him. All of those were, 2010 to 2015, but like we forget that. We forget that, like the brain and all have cataract and glaucoma, but they have 20/20 vision for home invasion and crime under the PNM. But them things didn't happen when they were in office 2010 to 2015, when it was an issue. She didn't know then about making it easier for persons to get guns when she was prime minister then, and home invasions were taking place. When it is that you were recording 40 and 50 murders in January alone, she didn't know then about Stand Your Ground. But all of a sudden now, she can't give a speech without Stand Your Ground. That is the solution to everything criminal. But nothing to improve police detection, crime detection. Yeah? So, increase police work, get everybody gone. And then everybody now, every Monday here in a shooting, and people saying Stand Your Ground. The person came at me. They attempted to invade my home. You invite the man to come home, knowing full well what it is that you want to do, and then say, home invasion. Look, miss me with that. Anyway, let's see what's the time now. Whoosh. Yes. 7701763. I'm going to do that one time because, it's already 8:06. Sometimes you just get a little carried away. And plenty more to talk about, but we will save that for Sunday. 7701763. 3, feel free to call me. Yes, Alicia Almandero, she says she can't even stand she grows. So true. She always needs somebody to hold her up. Yeah, she did a gyroscope to balance. Like, come help me, and pretending she holding hand, but it's really is stability she looking for. Eh? So when it is here, please stand for the arrival of the political leader. They know to get up and run to help her and pretend we walking arm in arm. But she need a human crutch. Anyway, Jenny, morning.
Morning to all those who locked on to debunking lies and facts.
Mm-hmm.
The UNC and all those who are associated with the UNC. The UNC has a history of corruption. It cannot be denied. We see it played out in the commission inquiry for the airport project. We have heard the Cease Makanda Dagger spoken about it. We heard Abdullah was also a part of the PP government, say Kamala corrupt. We heard Roger, who was also a part of the PP through the MSG, says she does lie. And the conversation continues. We heard Bruna St. Rose say she has a monkey on her back, leading to some type of substance abuse. We heard Pandy say Jack says she fall down drunk. We have heard stories about chain smoking and alcoholism. We have heard stories about peeing the PM car down, vomiting down. That's why she traveled in the helicopter. And the list goes on and on. And the people who follow her are no different. Her chief whip is before the court at $1 million or something. So bail for corruption, alleged corruption. Anil Ram Logan, Jared Ramdeen also before the court for alleged corruption. And the list just goes on and on. My thing is that people who continue to look at the UNC as alternative government, a couple of things with them, they're lazy in their thinking. They want to continue living in a state of just a handout and eating crumbs. Or they just have a hate in them where they're not comfortable with self, that they're willing to allow all these kind of scenarios I just point out here and then still say the UNC is the best choice. My thing is this, people have to be retrained and re-educated, and it's very easy to do it because the same way they are falling into this lazy group, they could fall back out. We have to get the message out there, and we cannot focus on whatever social media or whatever it is. I consider all of us, Ms. Diane Payne, yourself, and so many others, Ms. Andrea Ennis, all of us, I think we are the social media officers. Once we get the truth, we are going to replicate it. Just how they replicate their lies, we're going to replicate it over and over. Anywhere you see one of our names is and there's a comment made and there are all the trolls, UNC trolls or whoever come, all they come at them also with the truth. Just paste it, copy, paste, copy, and just shoot them down, not physically, but on social media with the information. That's the only way. I'm no longer going to sit back and study about no social media officer and PNM PR. I know the importance of a PNM government being in office. I know the policies they put in place is for all of this country. So I'm not going to leave it a chance for no PR officer, PNM, or no social media officer, PNM. I am taking charge of my space, and I will do what I can do in the fight against this wicked, corrupt UNC. Dominic, thank you so much, and have a blessed day.
Thank you, Jen. Could not have said it better myself. 7701763. Good morning to Mr. Chance, to Mr. Yates. Let me see. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning, my brother. Good morning to all the listeners and the debunking lies facts Facebook page and YouTube. Dominic, what I have to say to people in this country, the electorate in this country, you all observe what is being played out by the UNC opposition, because that woman said on the Monday night forum, right, that they're going to have all of them going to sing from the same hymn book. So when they see them coming out with all the propaganda and the misinformation and the lies, all know what to do. You understand? Or they know what to do. This election, this local election, we have to treat it like a general because this is the prelude to the national election in 2 years' time. So people, I personally cannot take another 3 or 4 years or 5 years on this UNC opposition. Because if only think 2010 was bad, put them back there for 2025 and it'll be 10 times worse than what it gave us in 2010 to 2015. So people only know what all they had to do. Listen, take heed, follow Dominic, follow Rhoda, follow Jenny, follow Juliet, these people. You understand? And don't let me say about this social media person because he's a waste of time. Let me get the ball running. You understand? So Dominic and Lockton are listening. Remember, guys, tonight, all road leads to Malabar, PNM public meeting. Come out and hear your Prime Minister deliver all what is going on in the country and the achievements under the PNM. Dominic and Lockton.
Thank you, sir. 7701763. Good morning to Mr. Terence Cummings. Debbie Marquis says she's calling for international observers for local election. You could imagine Anna Roberts as a Minister of Government again in this country. David Naked, Jayanti Lakshmidiyal. 5 years of that, people. 5 years of that. Munilal. Tell only Munilal just waiting for that to happen for him. The first thing that's going to come out of his mouth, or the first sitting of Parliament, is to Shampa Kojo. We in charge now. 8 years he waiting to say that. The minute he gets the opportunity to, he's gonna let her have it. 7701763. That is the number to call. Get this here. Brian, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Dominic.
Morning, sir.
How are you?
I am very good, and yourself?
Dominic, you know, those who forget our history are doomed to repeat it.
Correct.
That is a thing that is so true. Good morning to all your listeners and callers who normally call in on this blog. Dominic, let me tell you this. Who's the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago today, Dominic?
Last
You're right, Honorable Dr.
Keith Rowley.
Christopher Rowley.
Correct, yes.
You say he's a racist, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Who is the chairman of National Petroleum right now? Called Saeed Hussein. You know
yes.
who Saeed Hussein is?
Yes.
Saeed Hussein was there under the who? The UNC. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Who is the chairman? Who is the CEO of Paria right now?
Mm-hmm.
I follow up on Mustaq Mohammed. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Listen to the names, you know. Who is the chairman of First Citizens Bank today? Who appointed him chairman of First Citizens Bank? Not the UNC, I forget. What's his name again? Oh gosh, I forget his name. Right now, I had it in the boy, it just slipped. You understand? I have to listen to these people talking about Dr. Rowley is a racist. There are many others, but when they were in power, most of them had false peoples.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Umar Khan.
Lara Stadium in South,
yes.
You know, not in town, in South. But it wasn't finished in 2010. They left it to rot. They left it to rot for 5 years. And when it was coming close to 2015, you know what they said? They said, well, with the renovation, it will cost about $190 million. You understand? That was in South. They left it there to rot down. They love Brian Lara, the Prince of Port of Spain. Revered around the world. His name, along with Sachin Tendulkar's name, is etched in the Sydney cricket ground in Australia today. the same principle that explained Brian Lara, who they so love. Who fired Brian Lara from UTT? Who? And they're talking about race.
And who told Sachin Tendulkar not to come here when they were launching the Brian Lara
They wrote, but not only that. Why didn't they write Curtly Ambrose and the rest of them not to come? Why only Sachin Tendulkar? I want Trinidad and Tobago to ask that question to Pushwati. How come they only wrote a letter to Sachin and tell him, boy, don't come here, boy, you're dead, boy, you must not crime, boy. You might go back alive, go back in a box, boy.
Yes, and that stadium is riddled in corruption, though. You don't want your name associated with that.
You understand, Brian? Good friend.
Yes.
Today, both of their names are etched and the Sydney Cricket Ground together. And them say them love them not. She not a racist? Really? Brian, anybody, what you hear the name Brian Lara revealed around the world? You know who he is. You want to come and see where he's from. And you, all your right, Sachin Tendulkar, tell him, boy, don't come here, boy. You ain't sure to make it. But I have more to say about that stadium on another time, coming closer to local. You see, Dominic, it only have one racial leader. You understand? Every time they see him, all they talk about is the black man, the black this, he black that, he black the other.
He's Oreo.
Oreo. You understand? But when Kamala talk, when Auntie Cam talk, she's not a racist. No. She's not racist. How many Africans of the UNC have been put in safe seats ever since UNC came into office? How many? Since from Bastille Pandey come down, how many? Bastille Pandey couldn't make jail because he heart ain't good. But he's 90 years old today as Patrick Manning did. Say funny, eh? 90 years old.
Yes.
he couldn't make jail because he heart ain't so good.
Yeah.
Eh? And I had to sit down here and listen to that Douglas liar, that fool, that imps, that twat, that drunk. He's the epitome of Kamala Prasad, etc. Want to get into office to lead who? You have to answer for that $400 million. You will have to answer for it one of these days. I have to sit up to listen to all you? Really? Not on my watch, brother. Trinidad and Tobago are tired and say one thing: wake up. Wake up and smell the coffee.
But you know, Brian, you remember they wrote the letter for sanctions when Delcy came here, right? I saw a picture with Mia Mottley welcoming Delcy to the Prime Minister's residence in Barbados last week.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm waiting for them. Kamala should write to Joe Biden and tell him we need to put sanctions on Barbados because look, they're entertaining Delcy.
Well, Dominic, up to now, all the letters Kamala Prasad had written just recently, even to the CARICOM secretariat, she hasn't gotten any responses. How come she ain't talking about them things? How come she's showing us the response she would have gotten from Mia Mottley or from the CARICOM secretariat about all of her concerns? How come? Not one person has responded to her. And if I tell you what they must be thinking why they haven't responded. There's no need to, because she's of no entity, she's of no use. Why should I respond to you or nobody? Who are you for me to respond to? We will not respond. All we will do, listen, here what we do. We may have to work with you maybe in the next 25 years, so we just won't respond right now. We'll just leave you in your ignorance and for you to understand that we don't need to respond to you. You think we're talking about that? How come then nobody has said, well, since he sent the letter, she has gotten a response from Mia Mottley and from the CARICOM secretariat? How come? Anybody asked if she got a response? No. Anybody asked if she talking about Grenada and Tobago? No. No questions, nothing at all. But talking about race and Dr. Rowley is this race and Dr. Rowley this and that and the other. Dr. Rowley is the most equitable prime minister I've ever seen because he has not fired you because of who you may be aligned to or have allegiance to. He ensures that what you are worth your salt to keep your job. And once that is your qualification, you are worthy of you keeping your job. And that is all he's concerned with. The progress of this country. but they won't say it that way. They want to sell all sorts of stupidness. Anyway, thank you very much, Dominic. Have a good day.
You too, sir. I mean, if you continue to listen to the UNC, Dr. Rowley had to be the most... He's a racist when it's convenient to them. Yeah? But when it is they wanted to say that the owner of AV Drilling is his best friend, one Mr. Nizam Bash or Nizam Bash. Yeah. He wasn't a racist then. When they say he was whining on the 17-year-old Indian girl, yeah, he wasn't a racist then. Ah, boy. Mr. Chance, good morning.
Dominic, good morning.
Morning, sir.
How are you doing?
I am good, and yourself?
Let me again thank you for your contribution you're making to the development of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes.
As per usual, you're on point, well researched. And I want to take a point from the Prime Minister as I say good morning to all those who are on the live and those who are following this particular very important contribution made by Dominic Romain. And a very important point the Prime Minister made, he said that election has consequences. And that is a very important message that we send to all of us so that we know the importance of going up in numbers and voting. That's what the word consequence means, you know. When you fail to do certain things, there's a price to pay. And that is a very important aspect of how we convert the work that Dominic is doing into conversations within our immediate family and the people who we influence. Let me say that again. Dominic is doing a lot of work, bringing information to us. And that is not for our own sensitization. It's for us to use that information to help to influence people to understand what is taking place in the country. And that's the point I want to make this morning. So within our own environment and within our own people we influence, that is called the ground campaign. We may not be the official, in inverted commas, part of that election campaign, which I have said, and many of us have said, is a general election in real sense, because it sets the tone psychologically for the general election. And that is what we have to remember, that this election is so important because it sets the tone, how people think. People love to go to winners. They love to go to people who seem as though they're winning. There are lots of people in this country who move when they see the crowd moving. And we have got to influence those people. And we have got to convert Dominic's work that he's doing into conversations. And as I said, we are not part of the official campaign, but we have a role to play in what is called the ground campaign. We are part of the ground campaign. And that is the first thing I want to say with respect to that. And the second thing, I want to make a request to Dominic, because the second thing I think we need to do, because I listened to the debate in Parliament yesterday at the Senate level, and the independent senators were strong on it. And it's something I think we at the ground level, and perhaps the national campaign will do it, but we have to start it from now. And that is educating and informing the people of the benefits of local government reform. That is what is on the ballot paper. You're not only voting for a candidate, you know, you're voting for local government reform. That's the thing. We must let them understand that. And I'm asking Dominic to do a special session as early as possible, educating the public about local benefits. We did it already, we have to do it again and again and again, because there are some benefits that the people must grasp. That was a big point made in the Senate yesterday by independent senators. People must be educated. And so I'm asking Dominic to do that. But before I leave, I want to make 2 points on that. One is that with local government reform, your services will be improved. Why? Because there'll be much more money. The reason why some of the services you have, garbage collection, drainage, the school maintenance, the community center maintenance, the health center maintenance, all cost money. We do not have a place in this country where there's a bag of money marked Trinidad and Tobago. We have to get the money from somewhere. And that is the reason for the property tax.
that provides the money to improve the service that you get. And so we have to talk to the people about that. And they will start to understand it before we tell them anything else. Just to let them know they have benefits for you. The second point I want to make in that is in respect to once there is more work, there will be much more job opportunities. So they can benefit more job opportunities for contractors, for young people, because you'll need people to service all those stuff. And let me close with this one. What I think that you need to consider, when you pay your property tax in the old system, the old local government system, that money goes into what is called the consolidated fund, a general fund. And then everybody could take. The government could take it and build a road in Chaguanas. The government could take it and build a road in wherever. But when you pay your property tax in this local government reform, you are paying your property tax to your corporation. So it's your money going to work for you. You see the difference? If you are living in the Arima Borough Corporation, you are not paying that property tax to central government, you know. You're paying it to the Arima Borough Corporation. If you're living in the Tulapuna, Yako Regional Corporation, you're paying to them. And it is your money coming back to work for you. So we've got to educate our people. And I'm making a special request for Dominic. I know we did it sometime before, to do a repeat of it, and do it now. We have to start to educate our people now, before the war starts. In peacetime, before the election bell is called, we've got to educate and inform the people. When the election bell is called, there's madness. So I'm asking Dominic very urgently to do that, the benefits of local government reform. Thank you very much, people. Good work, Dominic. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Of course, as Mr. Chan said, and he continues to repeat, elections have consequences. That's the UNC utters the same mantra too. Just to remind you of the consequence of voting for them. Again, this special report in the Sunday Express. It says here, the commission is convinced that on the evidence as a whole, there was collusion on a grand scale to bleed the treasury of this country. That's what the commission said. And that is a headline that Kamla Persad-Bissessar had to look at on Sunday in her face and she had to recall what she did as Attorney General that contributed to this. This report that would have never seen the light of day. In fact, this commission of inquiry would have never happened had they won the election and in 2002, or had they won in 2001, had there not been the 1818 tie, and she was able to serve a second term, this time as Attorney General for 5 years. This inquiry would have never taken place. This investigation would not have happened. But I just want to read something quickly from this. It says here, the project, which started at an anticipated construction cost of $662 million, ended up at $1.6 billion, a $1 billion cost overrun. And according to the report, it was a top government official, right? All of this Kamla Persad-Bissessar saw on Sunday when she read this article. She had no choice but to reference it on Monday night. It was a top government official who changed the funding arrangements from build, operate, transfer to general borrowing financed by the government, which the cabinet agreed to on his advice. The cabinet of which she was a part. She, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, agreed to that. And the project was given an open checkbook. Spend as much money as all they want. And the report said 6 loans were raised from local and foreign banks, totaling $1.54 billion. The estimated total repayment on these, together with interest and charges over the 20-year period, amounted to $3.55 billion. So the $2 billion that was paid in interest, $2 billion paid in interest, what the government could have used that for to help. How much black people who suffering and black people who can't put food on the table according to Adel Roberts, and black people who in prison, and black people, that $2 billion could have helped them black people and lift them up, such that today you wouldn't be talking that nonsense. Yeah? But anyway, we'll leave that for another time. Yeah? That clown, that idiot who wants you to give them your vote so that he could come back as a minister of government in this country and do to the constituency of St. Joseph, which is what he's hoping to represent, do to them what he did to Dabadi O'Meara, where today you still have pockets in Dabadi O'Meara, in that constituency, pockets of people that he weaponized, right? With giving them box brain contract and contracts of the like so that they could have gotten money to facilitate the crime enterprises, such that now they could just walk into people's homes and take your house, tell you pack up and leave. When you go to the police telling you, well, here, what is better you forget that, because if it is that you stay or you try to fight it, next thing we might end up having to, instead of investigating a home invasion, we might have to be investigating a murder. So it's better you leave that. Let them take the house, go somewhere and build somewhere else. So as if it's so easy, right? You work hard, blood, sweat, and tears to build your home, and when you finally think you could relax in your house now, man walk in with gun and tell you, hey, pack up and leave. There's way out. Thanks. Yeah? Who facilitated that? And he wants to come and tell you, put him back in office. And the party that he supported, she resurrected his political life. He was in the cemetery, the political cemetery. She went and dig him up, exhume his body, right? Resurrect him and bring him back and foist him on the citizens of this country and tell them, you hold that. And that is her best speaker now. End Anil, everything is end Anil. We're supposed to vote for that, right? Went and find that kid wherever. Yeah? Pull him up a prison. He should have been in a prison in Lebanon or wherever it is. Yeah? This next clown, Rambali, has he gone to Syria yet? The one who was supposed to go on the fact-finding mission to Syria, he reached yet? There is only him out now. Remember Brian Stone, he was supposed to go to Ukraine. He was collecting donations to be able to go to Ukraine to assist the Ukrainians to fight against Russia. He gone Ukraine yet? So one supposed to go Ukraine, one supposed to go Syria. And the next thing you hear, 6 months from now, she'll tell us, yes, that is old news. They went, and that was reported in the newspapers. Well, I ain't see it yet, right? Because last I checked, Rambali's still here. And Brian Stone's still here. In fact, when he engaged the PhD the other day, I asked him, I said, you went to Syria yet? Well, after that, all conversation done. Elections have consequences. Do not take this local election for granted. Right? Just a local election, nothing, no. These people looking for gloating rights for the next 2 years. That's all they want. They don't really care about representation, right? But just remember, when you don't go out and vote and you allow their candidate to win, you have to put up with poor representation from somebody that they just put just because. Yeah, they couldn't care. If Good Friday fall on Ash Wednesday, it's neither here nor there. They just pull up, yeah, he looking like a good one. Yeah, you say you have some friend there, put he there, right? That's what they're looking for, gloating rights. All this thing about the Privy Council and the Privy Council say and the government acted illegally and all this kind of thing and call election. It's not about representation. They just want to be able to say for the next 2 years, you see, yeah, we put a curtail on the PNM. Watch, yeah, the same thing going to happen in general election. What can you go see? 7701763. You could probably take one more call. And then we can wrap up for today. Terry Moore says, with all the information, and some people still don't really understand what is going on. So it makes me believe it is about hate. Yes, they don't, some people just cannot be educated. They suffer from a severe case of cognitive dissonance. It matters not what you tell them. They may want to hear. Let's see here. Jenny. Yeah, Jen.
It's me again. I just want to tell people, because people need to understand something. Kamala predecessor once introduced stand your ground laws, and she's determined to do that if she gets into office. The pundit, her favorite pundit from Arangus, has already indicated, without any data, that is the African Youth from the East-West Corridor who are attacking and targeting Indian people. In America, it has shown that stand your ground laws, the only people who are murdered by that is people of African descent, African Americans. In our laws on the law book right now, there are laws to treat with house invasion. In those laws, they speak about reasonable force. So if somebody comes in your house with a broom, you can't take a gun and blow the brains out and say you're feared for your life. So it's force for force, equal force. There is in it also retreat. So if you can get away from wherever you are, you could hide or whatever and de-escalate what is happening while you wait for help, you can do that. But with stand your ground, you don't have to retreat. You can just simply say you felt threatened and shoot somebody. And if in this country they are saying that there's African people committing all the crimes and you're arming people with guns, more people with guns now, legal guns, is it anybody fast stretch of imagination that in Aranguez, Indian people get gun and they see an African youth walking about Aranguez, going on your own business to work or whatever, going to shop or driving the car, that they come out and shoot him there and say they felt threatened because it's African youth who are targeting Indian people. I want to ask, this is a real thing, you know. This woman wanted at one time to go after our NIS and the money in UTC, you know. This woman is real, so let's sit down and sit back and say, I ain't going and vote because all of them is the same, and give Kamala the opportunity to win votes in constituency by 1,000 vote and a 500 vote, and she get into office. Let me tell you, the only people are going to suffer in this country because they want to make African people in this country second-class citizens. Eh? This is my opinion. And one of the ways they want to do that is to keep us under control. And if you have a law with states, you could just shoot an African person because that was standing ground. Yes. It means to say we will be under threat. So this is a real thing, and I want people to get it in their mind. I ain't trying to fear nobody, whatever, but think about it. It is real. Research is there. I just go and research. I like my prime minister. I'm looking at data and research. So it is important we come out and vote. It is important, Dominic, you play your part along with us. Give up the information if we don't have it. And we will share the information and we will get it out there. We're not waiting on no PR. We're not waiting on no social media officer. The time for that gone. This is crunch time. This is survivability of the African people in Trinidad and Tobago. I put in it real, and we have plenty positives in our communities. Thank you, Dominic.
Thank you, Jen. Yes, Kurt Shaw says, understand what Sister Jenny is saying, people. It is real. Claudius Alexander says, but how local government is so important now? We can't understand. Kamala stated that Paris is in charge of Labas people. Now that he's in the ministry. Correct, Claudia. She said that it was, he's now the minister of rats and drains. And she repeated something similar the other night too. Right? So local government councillors are really councillors of rats and drains and cutting grass. That's what she said. Cutting grass. That's all you do. You serve no other useful purpose other than that. Anybody else wants to call? Last 2-3 minutes. 770-1763. Right, Andrea says she'll be listening to her darling Prime Minister tonight. Just remember tonight the PNM bandwagon rolls into the constituency of Dabadi Omera, my constituency, Malabar, tonight. So, and they're promising a powerful lineup of speakers, including the Prime Minister. So, yes, don't want to miss that. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yes, morning, Dominic. Yes, Dominic, how are you?
I am good, man.
Yes, man. Good program. Mr. Dominic, you are correct, you know. This fellow they call just happening at a political lifeline, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's supposed to be in the political cemetery a long time.
Mm-hmm.
What makes it so obscene and sad? This man come out from the bowels of the COP.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I ask myself, Mr. Wilson, did I not be regretting to ever select this man to run for office? That's how I see it. I can see the same thing for Kamala Bussard. As far as I'm concerned, she's on a UNC, she's an NAL.
Yes.
Because at one time, when Club Date was from, she wasn't there. And when the UNC ran for election in 1991, she ran on an NAL ticket. It's just through luck that Pandit happened to give her a safe seat in Saparia, and the rest is history.
Yes.
But she was never a UNC, so she was always a NAR, and that's how I see her. She's a NAR. She don't know UNC. She's a NAR, she's a UNC name only. She's a NAR, and that's how I see it.
Right.
And I think people need to remember that. If it wasn't back to Pandit, she would have never gotten a seat for Saparia. Have a good day.
Thank you.
People need to remember that.
Indeed. You know what's interesting about that clown, Annie Roberts? Before he joined, today he's the biggest UNC type, right? Nobody like he could be UNC. But when you left the PNM, when you had the big show and you cut up your PNM party card, you didn't go to the UNC, you went to the COP. Why? Because at that time you still had some modicum or something, and you realized that the UNC was corrupt. Right? So you went COP, full you jump back, and they blast you, went across the UNC. Yeah, but anyway, Brian.
Dominic, just to add very quickly to what Sister Jen said.
Yes.
And you see, we have to listen to these things because they are subliminal messages being sent by Kamla Prasad, and she's not repeating some of them.
Mm-hmm.
She's just putting it out there and she's leaving it out there. But in one of her forums recently, she said that when they get into office, especially in San Fernando, they're going to, because of the stand your ground thing, they're going to gate certain communities.
Yes.
Like Gulfview and so on. Now in Gulfview, I have friends of African descent living there.
Mm.
So if you want to gate communities like, I'm going to talk about South, Gulfview.
Mm.
So if I have to go to visit my friends in Gulfview, if you see somebody looking like me going to visit them, it may look as though it's a home invasion on my part.
Mm-hmm.
So I maybe could lose my life, and then they put out an excuse, and I the enemy.
Yeah.
I want people to listen to these subliminal messages being sent, you know. Why would you want to gate Gulf City, Gulfview? And it's for everybody. Why would you want to do that? People only listen to some of these messages, you know, because it becomes like if you gate certain communities where there's a certain predominance of certain type of people, and if you innocently want to go to visit someone there, or even if you may have a child living there who they don't know, there's every possibility there could be a disastrous end. That could be the consequence of what Kamla Prasad is attempting to say or do. And that will be the end result. We have to be very, very mindful of that. Just want to warn people. We have to be careful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Brian. So thank you, folks, for joining me this morning. It was always a pleasure. Always is a pleasure to share with you. You know, remember this tonight PNM meeting. I think will be carried on TTT at 7 o'clock or thereabouts. So tune in here. What the Prime Minister has to say. Election is in full swing. So imagine we will be having meetings, hopefully on a weekly basis now as we lead into local election 2023. Yeah, so tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. Look out for when the UNC comes with their booklet of lies, propaganda, misinformation, and disinformation. Tell them, get the heads. Get thee behind me, Satan. Remember one time Satmarat say, tell them, keep your posy with your steel pea under the bed and wait for them when they come in. I ain't telling you to do that, but hey, Kamla say, talk, Sat, talk. All right, he said that. So enjoy the rest of your day, folks, and God's willing, we will chat again on Sunday. I will get my copy of the Express early so we could touch on that in part 2. Make sure you get your copy too. That is a keepsake, right? So when they come with their nonsense, make sure you have it there. Tell them all that. Make photocopies of it, and when they come with a booklet, hand them that. Say, let me talk about this now. Yeah, before we talk about the booklet, talk about this and then. So enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see if I can make my way to Malabar tonight. I ain't promising anybody you're looking out, but I'll see what I could do depending on how my schedule goes. But otherwise to that, we will chat on Sunday. I am out.